Welcome to our channel where we bring you Formula One news. Today, after the Singapore Grand Prix, where for the first time this year, Red Bull did not make it to the podium, but before we dive into the race recap, we invite you to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. It's important for us to keep bringing you the latest F1 updates. Thank you. A race simmering gently, building up in excitement, and ending brilliantly. The Singapore Grand Prix did not disappoint once again, providing us with an excellent spectacle. For the first time this year, a podium without Red Bull. Carlos Sainz delivered an outstanding, well-measured, and intelligent race, but the safety car and virtual safety car changed the course of the race twice. Mercedes seized the opportunity to play their cards right and put their drivers in the fight for victory. Sainz entered the final 15 laps leading the race, just as he had started, but had Lando Norris behind him, who overtook the unlucky Charles Leclerc, who lost position during the first safety car due to a pit stop mishap. The Mercedes team capitalized on the virtual safety car to employ an alternative strategy and go for the win. The final laps delivered a thrilling battle between the two Mercedes and the former teammates duo of Norris and Sainz, making for a nail-biting finish. Russell made a mistake and dropped from the podium to the bottom of the table, and Sainz brilliantly managed the last laps for a spectacular victory, giving Norris DRS to fend off the Mercedes. In the end, Sainz won, with Norris and Hamilton on the podium. Now, let's get into the race recap. Singapore lit up to host the 15th round of the F1 World Championship, with scorching heat and high humidity to challenge the drivers and teams. With a track temperature of 37 degrees Celsius and an air temperature of 30 degrees Celsius, the drivers prepared for the 62-lap race. All top 10 drivers opted for medium tires at the start, except for Charles Leclerc, who chose soft tires. Max Verstappen, starting 11th, had hard tires on his Red Bull, as did Sergio Perez, 13th, and Valtteri Bottas, 17th. Yuki Tsunoda, Oscar Piastri, and Zhou Guanyu, starting from the pit lane, went for soft tires at the start. The start favored Ferrari, with Sainz holding on to first place and Leclerc moving into second, while Russell was in fourth and Hamilton in third. Hamilton went off track. Oscar Piastri gained 3 positions, 14th, Fernando Alonso and Esteban Ocon, 6th and 7th, each gained a spot at the expense of Kevin Magnussen. Yuki Tsunoda was the first retirement of the race, pulling his car off the track without the need for a safety car. By the end of the second lap, Max Verstappen had already climbed to 9th place, and Hamilton allowed Russell to pass for third, with Lando Norris complaining that Hamilton should also give up the position. Zhou was the first to pit for hard tires. Hamilton allowed Norris to pass to avoid any potential penalties. Verstappen continued his recovery and was already 8th on lap 6, after passing Kevin Magnussen, while Perez and Oscar Piastri battled for 13th place, with Alex Albon close by. The Ferrari pair stayed close while the gap to Russell was 2.2 seconds, in a race with a still relatively slow pace in the early stages. The pack remained very close, making it challenging for teams to find a gap for drivers to pit. On lap 17, if Sainz were to pit for a tire change, he would return to the track in 17th place. Ferrari was torn between tire management and maintaining a strong pace, while Mercedes was trying to pressure Ferrari at a time when rain was in the forecast, according to McLaren's predictions. On lap 20, Logan Sargent broke his front wing on lap 8, prompting the first safety car. Most teams pitted to switch to hard tires, except Red Bull, which stayed out on the track to climb up the ranks. After the safety car, the order was Sainz, Verstappen, Russell, Perez, Norris, Leclerc. The biggest loser in the pit stops, Hamilton, Alonso, failed to enter the pits and would be penalized, Ocon, and Bottas. The restart was good for Sainz, who managed to shake off Verstappen's pressure, while Norris tried to pass Perez, with Leclerc nearly collecting the McLaren driver. Verstappen was under pressure from Russell, just as Perez defended against Norris, unsuccessfully. Verstappen lost second place, and Perez dropped to fourth. Perez couldn't hold off Hamilton's attack and fell to sixth, paying the price for having more worn tires. Russell remained close to Sainz, while Norris passed Verstappen for third. This was on lap 25. 2 laps later, Hamilton easily overtook Verstappen. Midway through the race, the top 10 consisted of Sainz, Russell, Norris, Hamilton, Leclerc, Verstappen, Perez, Alonso, Ocon, and Magnussen. Sainz was trying to maintain a slow pace to avoid a second Mercedes pit stop, with Russell close behind, and Norris also managing his pace, with Hamilton closing in. The race settled down again, although with a faster pace than in the early laps. Battles were ongoing, especially in the fight for the top 10. Pierre Gasly managed to pass Magnussen, and Alonso attempted to pass Perez, with the Mexican holding on to 7th while Alonso was overtaken by Ocon. Ocon needed one more lap to get past Perez, in an excellent move. Perez was in great difficulty and lost 2 more positions. On lap 40, Perez was called to pit for medium tires, rejoining the track in last place. The following lap, Verstappen was called in, rejoining in 15th place. On lap 43, Esteban Ocon came to a stop on the track with an issue with his Alpine, causing a virtual safety car. The front runners did not take the opportunity to pit, and the order at the front remained the same. The lap after the VSC, Mercedes brought both cars in to switch to medium tires, putting them in an excellent position. Alonso also pitted for soft tires, but the stop went very wrong, and the Spaniard lost a lot of time. The top 10 now consisted of Sainz, Norris, Leclerc, Russell, and Hamilton, all with fresh tires: Gasly, Piastri, Lawson, Hülkenberg, and Zhou. Mercedes' move was brilliant, and both drivers were 2 seconds faster than the competition, setting up a final attack on the top 3. Meanwhile, Verstappen was already in the points and was 7th on lap 55. On lap 55, Russell and Hamilton were closing in on Norris and Sainz, and it seemed that the front runners wouldn't have the means to hold off the 2 Mercedes. The top 4 were separated by less than 2 seconds with 3 laps to go. Sainz played a risky game and gave Norris DRS to help the McLaren defend against the Mercedes, a brilliant move by the Spanish driver. Russell couldn't get past Norris, and Hamilton was eagerly waiting behind his teammate. Russell made a tremendous mistake on the final lap and went off the track, handing 3rd place to Hamilton, who didn't have enough time to challenge either Norris or Sainz. Sainz claimed a brilliant victory, showing intelligence and cleverness, with Norris valiantly fending off Russell's attacks, with the help of his former teammate. Russell was the major disappointment with a glaring mistake near the end, gifting the podium to Hamilton. Charles Leclerc finished 4th in an unlucky race, and Verstappen still managed to secure a top 5 finish with a strong comeback on medium tires. Gasly was 6th, ahead of Piastri, Lawson, Perez, a great race, and Magnussen closing out the top 10.